Hello, friends. It's John Klein III of episode 217 of Shadow and Flame of Magic. Today, we're going to review New Mutants Volume 144 and then spoil X-Men Volume 725, Uncanny X-Men Volume 624, Wolverine Volume 816, Generation X 23-1, and then very quickly, Sai Dimensional Rivals 2, New Avengers Volume 59, Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon 1, and as Jeff meets Daredevil. Um, but first, uh, we got some video game news. Magic came to Fortnite finally, and she just looks gorgeous in it. It has a cool sword sword. Her back blings a portal of limbo, so she takes it out of there. It's the Chris Bacalo design, of course. It'd been nice if they came with different styles, like a Dark Child style or even a New Mutant style. Like I would have paid, extra for those. I know they rarely update a style, and I rather they just do that instead of giving us three more skins to match those. A cool bonus effect of the Soul Sword is that the Ashley Allen Harmon Barata Wave Sword is incorporated. It's a different style for the skin, and then her emote, she uses both swords to make an X, which an X. And so that was pretty exciting. And then at the latest PlayStation State to Play, they revealed Marvel Token Fighting Souls, which is coming out August 6th of this year. It's a 4x4 fighting game, but we've got the mutants of the game, which is going to be Logan, Storm, the Danger, as in the Danger Room, and Magic is added to it. And we see the Xavier School is one of the stages, and throughout that stage that we can see is the front of the school, and there's a lot of dragon um statues that look very much like Lockheed. I don't know what other dragons would have been inspired by, I guess Shogo, but we all know you see a dragon on the Xavier Institute. That's only going to be the one. Lockheed himself. And so that's exciting. You can pre-order the game now. It's a $60 game, and I'm no good at fighting games, but I would love to play as Magic. But that's probably going to be a $20. Like I'm going to have to wait until that's a $20 game. Like that's just the reality of it. I'm willing to pay for Wolverine on launch, but not a fighting game, especially not one where it's 4-on-4. But it's nice 4-on-4, so you can play as the entire X-Men crew. Ideally, they'll add other mutants to it, but I know that's always the issue is that the X-Men's deep enough roster where you can make an entire game with just the X-Men, which I always thought X of Swords was going to be, or Ten of Swords was going to be turned into a video game, but we just weren't there yet. So, and as far as I know, Marvel Rivals have not added any new Lockheed content, so which I do appreciate people on Twitter and Blue Sky making a point of sending me news. There was a comic book distributor convention, and we got the Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob, Jay's of Future Past, one shot that's coming in June. So, and which has Lockheed on the cover, so that's very cool. And um, I think that's all the news we have at the moment. So let's get into New Mutants Volume 144. We're getting closer to all my 44 books, but I want to say we still got three more issues because I know for the um my goals for the podcast this year, we were getting deep into March with it. So, and then we, of course, we say one of them for the end of the year. So I was gonna say we got a near mint copy of the comic, which is how Mile High Comics used to do their stickers. So that's how I know. It says Legion's back, Wolfsbane's down, 8 mutants to go. I'll hold it for a second longer for our YouTube friends. Which, by the way, thank you so much for everyone who's watched the video on YouTube. We got some great numbers. This issue came out in October 1986. I would have been 3 at the moment. This is called Runaway. And it's brought to us by Stanley Presenter, Chris Claremont Writer, Jackson Geis Penciler, rest in peace, Kyle Baker Inker, Elaine Lee Colors, Tom Orchowski Letterer, Ann Nocenti Legend, Editor, Jim Shooter Editor-in-Chief, and Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod are creators, and the New Mutants are the stars. And we open at Mirror Island. David Howard's losing his control of his powers and is about to drop a big piece of machinery on Dr. McTaggart. But good thing he didn't kill her here, right? Events flash at an impossible speeds, occurring in split seconds, even as Mariah McTaggart turns into and cries out in reflective horror at her danger. Rain Sinclair shapeshifts from teenage girl to woven transitional form that synchronizes the best of her human and lupine natures. But fast as Wolfsbane reacts, the distance is too great, the time too short, to rescue too late. As she's like making a half dash over to it. But thankfully, David Howard pauses the wreckage in time, but it turns out it's not David Howard, it's his personality, Jack Wayne, who is quite the murderous persona. An ocean and five time zones to the west, we see Danny Moonstar was enjoying her rest. It's the middle of the night at Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, home of the New Mutants, a novice team of teenage super beings whose co-leader, Danielle Moonstar, codename Mirage, is deep in the land of dreams. She fell asleep in her clothes, though. And for once, surprisingly, those dreams are happy ones. So, of course, they don't last. And then she hears Rain's psychic outburst and tries to call over there. No one's around, so then she goes to get her Team Supreme cohort, Magic. But Magic was having quite the limbo moment and spooks Danny onto her back, and then like a snake demon, snake-shaped demon, I suppose, starts slithering around Danny. And Danny is able to catch her breath. The rest of the New Mutants show up. Quickly, Danny repeats her tale to her teammates. And Danny wants to just go by herself, but Karma tells her that they should go as a team, naturally. Which I should say, if you want to follow along, on Saturday, I'm going to be posting my short video on TikTok and YouTube at Jacko SII, and then on Sunday will be just the pure comic book images, or at least the magic parts, which I always like the way that always comes together. Um, Back to the book. Due north from Cape Wrath lies Muir Island. Always nice to try to get the geography of it all together. A lonely stand of rock in an often angry ocean, as remote, as wildly beautiful as can be. Few come home, fewer want to, which is how its mistress, Mara McTaggart, prefers it. The island's solitude suits both her nature and her work at the Mutant Research Center she establishes as a companion facility to Xavier School, to most often to disastrous results. And then the mutants finally new mutants catch up to Rain. And Rain's surprised but ecstatic that Danny heard her shouts. Later, after explanations and after the mutants have made certain that Moira is unhurt and there are no other casualties, they proceed down the west coast of Scotland to Loch Broom and the port of Lualpole, which I don't really know too much about Mirror Island's actual inhabitants, as Excalibur didn't get there late, and then besides the bar, they don't really go out too much. And Warlock is in helicopter mode and gets everyone to the island. Rain's in her uniform. And then they talk it out about what they should do next. And then a dude gets thrown through a window. So they know where to go now. And then Magic and Karma approach Jack Wayne. who's using all that hair David Howard usually has to give himself a new doom. Here we go again. Karma's making her play. She smiles radiantly. An invitation immediately answered. He makes eye contact and Karma possesses him, seizing instant total control of his mind. Arm in arm, they head for the door, but then shock and pain breaks Karma's concentration as a lady slaps David Howard's face, or Jack Wayne's face. Well, I guess it's still David's face. And her psychic hold on Legion, his reaction is an instantaneous as it is brutal, and he throws the lady across the bar. And then Cannonball gets into the fight. Mile High Comics full page ad. And then they did a quarter page ad. And then Warlock's in the fight, which is, I guess, sporting of them that Jack Wayne's is one guy. So they're like, well, just fight him one on one. A little while later, we see Reigns at the moment, Reverend Craig's her adopted father, but we find out later that, birth father as well. Complicated. And soon, David Jack Wayne takes the fight to everyone again. Magma, it's her turn. At Magma's command, solid rock flows like water to instantly solidify as it strikes the burning metal until the tank is completely covered. Deprived of oxygen, the fire extinguishes itself. So then Sunspot gets into it. And then finally, we're on page 21. So Magic can now just end it like she usually does. Same problem Rachel Summers had in Excalibur, where she just had to hang back or get knocked out early. There's a flash of stellar light, and the three of them are in Ilyana's domain. And then the shock of limbo is enough to give David can take over his body again. Sunspot gives him a nice comforting hug. Mirror Island the following day, everyone's getting ready to go home. At one point, Rain said that, let Jack Wayne destroy the island. They're all full of jerks. And Danny's asking if that's what she really thinks. And that's a thought we'll follow on another day. And that, everyone, was New Mutants Volume 1, number 44. I do not own Volume 3's 44, so we would not be covering that. Volume 3 had 50 issues. Volume 1 had 100 issues, but at one point, Magic died and they quit referencing her as the book title moves to X-Force. So, but if you got plenty of New Mutant comics to review, ideally I have plenty of years to do this. Morbid thought I have every so often. So then let's spoil this week's comics. We had X-Men Volume 725. So rare for a modern comic to reach issue 25. Though Uncanny to be doing it with its next issue. Just to get out of the way, here's your Fenris trigger warning. I treated myself to the Luciano Vecchio variant cover. We weren't given this theme cover for Exceptional X-Men, which I would have gladly bought the Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost, and the Melee covers. Actually, I probably would have just gotten them all, so I do love that format. Maybe X-Men United we'll finally get them. I'm still waiting for the Russell Dauterman Kitty Pryde costume gallery cover. He is making one for Wonder Man, so he's still in the game. Issue opens with Cyclops telling the team about the Age of Revelation. I do like the idea that you can't just skip AOR, and what you really need to know, you'll be told through X-Men dialogue. Future bad. Oh yeah, it's a bad future because of Doug Ramsey and 3K. More on them later. Scott's new goal in life: fix the present to save the future. Such a good team shot here. Arizona, 3 miles from Rio Verde, which is 3.5 hours away from Yuma. When I was growing up, there was a popular blue shirt that had Yuma 4 hours from everywhere else. That is burned into my mind. Like it's 4 hours away from Phoenix, it's 4 hours away from San Diego, with a sign saying we're 4 hours away from hell because of how hot it is there. I always tell people I am from Yuma, Arizona. Like it's a permanent red spot all on every weather map all year long. We catch up to Fenris, who are eternally gross. Now they're super prideful being white mutants, so they have a new lower level of their grossness. I do love how Jed McKay's done with calling the Strucker twins and Fenris the name of their hate group Nazis. Why hide behind code names anymore? Also, a good time to mention I was wrong about 3K being a clever way of not writing KKK, which makes sense now that we know Krakoa Beast is the chairman of the board. Then we get Cyclops really needs to find Doug. Back to the present, Cyclops sends Magic and Psylocke to join the fight. Once we're done with the Psylocke Retro miniseries, which apparently is selling quite well, I would love to get a Magic and Psylocke miniseries. These two are great together. Then I love the X-Men sharing a meal together. This team is very close. Cyclops reveals that AOR had never heard of RLDS. 70s Beast lets out a retro casualty, which sounds like a fun thing to say aloud. I wonder what that would have looked like in Mortal Kombat finisher. Magic telling Psylocke that her sword is sharper and Canon calling Magic a brat. These two are just the best together. Again, I just love Magic and Juggernaut being besties. This series has been doing great with showing Ilyana being actual friends with people. I love to see it. Juggernaut throws a car at Fenris. He's so upset that they blasted Magic, taking her out of the fight for the rest of the issue, which has to be done as so she can end a fight rather easily. As we saw, that's just been the way for 30 years. Ugh, I say 30 years, but 86, that's 40 years ago. Even though the 90s still felt like 10 years ago for me, but that's just age. Psylocke fights Andreas and Oya fights Andrea. Crimson Choir, who also can end a fight easily, has been holding back as he really doesn't want to enter the minds of white supremacists, which is completely understandable. Juggernaut helping Magic up, they're the best. We finally learn who the mutant is who's in charge of one, the Crimson Commando, who I barely remember. He's on the cover of Uncanny X-Men 215, which is his first appearance, with Stonewall and Super Saber, who I always remember Stonewall. Mostly due to the historical event, but the cool flight helmet helps too. He's a World War II veteran with a mutant power of peak physical health. I own his first appearance, so that's cool. He's a Claremont Alan Davis creation. The Crimson Commando arrives with a crew in a press conference announcing one, and Cyclops' X-Men are working together, then immediately has them stop recording. So mutants everywhere should have some distrust of Cyclops now, which seems silly as all it'll take is for him to reach out to Rogue and Emma and clear the whole thing up. You probably do that in between issues. Cyclops references how the last time he fought Crimson Commando, the Commando died, and the editor's footnote says issue 529 of Uncanny X-Men, but it's actually 539, which I don't own. But I do own 529, which had a nice subplot where Emma and Kitty are looking for Sebastian Shaw with Phantom X. Which even then I was like, well, I know that subplot lasted 3 issues, and I don't remember Crimson Commando at all, but I don't remember the other parts of the issues either. But um, so at least that one his first appearance and then his latest appearance. We do get a reference to how Cyclops hadn't realized Crimson Commando was resurrected on Krakoa, so that's nice that era exists so any mutant can be brought back with ease, as long as they didn't die in Fall of X or Rise of X. Crimson Commando leaves knowing he'll win the long battle. We get a backup where 70s Beast chats with Animalia, who likes the codename, another legacy of AOR. 70s Beast figures out 3K is actually 3000, otherwise written in Latin it's MMM, make more mutants, and learns that the chairman of 3K is Krakoa Beast. So everyone now knows they are who they're up against. And this was a pretty great anniversary issue. Uncanny X-Men Volume 624, such a great issue. I was surprised that we got Marcus continuing the bedtime story, but it makes sense that he is, as last issue wasn't a done in one story. I'm so happy that Marcus knows enough about Calicchio to make her in-story horse Ember. I also like how he may not know Jitter enough that to him it makes sense that she announces the character's name that she's going to mimic. In this case, that'll be Hawkeye. Meanwhile, Uncanny X-Men are facing off Elsa Bloodstone, the Amphibian, the Living Mummy, Frankenstein's Monster, Morbius, and Werewolf by Night. I always appreciate narration boxes that name all the characters. In classic X-Men fashion and horror trope, the team splits up and we get some fun combinations. Nightcrawler teleports everyone to the Sweetwater Park. We get a reminder that Hurricane Karina devastated the park and they still haven't fully recovered. Be sure we just remember Louisiana still carries the scar of that disaster. According to the Comics FS, though, this is a fictional water park, or not water. It's called the Sweetwater Park, and the park itself is fictional. Logan fights Werewolf by Night, who bites Logan. We are introduced to Elsa's boss, a charming lady who has a white wolf for a pet named Salem. Nightcrawler has to confront German literary hero, question mark, Frankenstein's monster. He rather just talk it out. Jubilee's confronted by Dr. Morbius. They have a nice chat about how freeing it is to be a vampire, but Jubilee rather not go back. Gambit fights Amphibian. I like how Logan having such medical knowledge that makes sense. I start having the thought that it'd be nice, or how nice it is that Logan's healing from the bite, but not turning to a were-Wolverine. That would be troublesome. I also like that we see a young rogue pre-adoption who really enjoys horror movies, scared out of her wits, but enjoys the thrill. Rogue has to deal with both the Living Mummy and Elsa Bloodstone. Elsa informs Rogue that her boss is on her way to Haven House. At least the outliers are there. Issue ends with Rogue having to deal with a new threat, Wolverine. So it turns out not as nice as I thought. So what, Rogue? Wolverine Volume 816. I'm really loving this arc. I really like Meta and the new Vindicator. I know they are the worst, but I love that for them. Plus, they're not getting along with each other, so that's just adding to the enjoyment. I also really appreciate Meta finding a way to weaken Logan. She has a gadget that can give him heart attacks. Vindicator is about to give the old Morlocks, Erg, and Ape enhanced interrogations. When Alpha Flight shows up to stop her, they were supposed to be watching Silver Sable, who escapes as she's no longer being watched. The new Morlocks chow down a deep fake rescue Logan using the skills he taught them. I like that Silver Sable gets a win over Vindicator, so they're 1-1 now. Sable has was caught off guard, but now has time to notice Vindicator protecting her right leg where her shield is the weakest at. I guess every shield needs to have a weak point for some reason. Issue ends with the return of fan favorite Adamantine. So I guess I'm not going to be enjoying the Hercules arc so much. Silver Sable sticking around for one more issue, so we still in for a good time, maybe? Adamantine is in an arena of sorts, and there's a reference to Romulus, who will be featured in an upcoming Cerebro episode. I've checked the Travis Starnes list, and I don't own any issue comics where Romulus appears in, nor is there any on my wish list. Generation X 23-1. I love the Kinney sisters so much. I still not sold on the Scout code name for Gabby, but she uses it in her special Scout's cool attack name, so she likes it, so I'm on board. Laura senses her friend Kaiden is around, who has time warping powers, who we last saw in NYX, so that's nice that we haven't forgotten that series, unlike Uncanny Spider-Man that we seem to have forgotten about. The sisters were saving Celia, who wants to be an X-Man, so I immediately love her. Gabby checks to make sure Celia is okay as Laura follows the trail. Gabby makes a fun reference to getting Celia X-Men uniform. I am such a sucker for her costume gallery, and we get a wonderful splash page of all the Laura's costumes. Laura has to fight a robot version of herself, so that's cool. I was having the thought that sometimes Kitty Pryde appears in a #1 comic of Laura's, but I wasn't expecting to actually see her. But then Laura catches up to not Kaiden, who we see an image of Age of Apocalypse Shadowcat that I was definitely not expecting to see. So I immediately sought out the Scotty Young variant cover for this. I should buy the lower comics that are on my wish list. I have a set of comics I want to buy next time, but the month after that, I will work on those. For the record, it's the X-23, the 2018 volume, issues 1 and 7, and then X-23 Deadly Regenesis, issue 1. Not Kaiden's out of sorts and can't remember her own name. Then her powers age her up and she turns to a skeleton in front of Laura. I just feel bad for her. We didn't even get her name. Laura grabs a motorcycle and continues the trail. Gabby borrows a motorcycle and they end up at a perfectly normal building, almost too normal, almost too Raph. Fake normal evil building. They're attacked by a dozen Laura robots. Gabby wants to keep one, but Laura says no, they're creepy. But Gabby wonders if they're creepy to the robots. Gabby's just simply the best. Issue ends with five new mutants, but not new mutants, arriving and knowing they're annoyed that their security system has been destroyed, but excited to see the Kinney sisters are there to join them. So, yeah, great first issue. Then quickly, well, not too quickly, Sai Dimensional Rivals 2, Eson Ribic, who I love as an artist, and Natasha Brastos join Peach Momoko in this dimensional farce. Rebic's story has Sai meeting the Silver Surfer who gives her a broken stone. Momoko provides the interconnecting pages and reminds us that Beast and Galacticaco has sent her on a quest for stones. Sai lies about not finding the previous stone, which is odd as Galactico, she's a female Galactus, or another version of the gal from Marvel Rivals. Um, and she somehow accepts this and sends her on to the next mission, but one would think success was the only option to continue, but I guess not. Bustos gives us a fun Strange Academy style of story. A student mistakes Sai for someone else. We see a class for bright minds with Lady Dr. Octopus and the leader. What we mostly care about is the special class of brilliant minds, which has students including Magneto, Emma Frost, Hela, Scarlet Witch, which is awkward as she's the same age as Magneto, but I guess not that awkward as he must clearly not have adopted her in this universe. Dormammu, all wearing fun school uniforms. The class is taught by Loki, who recognizes Sai and makes life difficult for her. He has a stone and she chases him. As she touches it, she wakes up and chases him again. Turns out she's in the negative zone. New Avengers Volume 5 9. Fun moment with Laura calling Carnage a goober, which he's offended by as he's being nice enough to dress her as Wolverine. Clea has a fun moment asking where Winter Widow has been. Have they been leaving lingerie and bullet casings throughout the French Riviera? There's a giant explosion. The team goes to rescue people. The team finds out Black Widow is connected to the Kill Umati. Clea begins to teleport Bucky away, but Laura puts two claws up to Clea's head. Black Widow has someone in her head, making her be a double agent. Also, apparently, the Jackal or a version of him is on the bad guy's side. Like, I don't know. I'm just here for the team dynamics. And then finally, oh no, we have Wolverine Weapon of Armageddon 1. How is a Weapon X related story going to lead to a massive company-wide crossover that also includes the end of the Ultimate Universe? I don't know. I like this Terry lady and great use of showing a time jump by having her be young as we are introduced and then in her 50s in the present day. Turns out Terry was the one who tracked Logan and how Canada found him for the Weapon X program, which is a nice piece of information to add to his lore, but also a cheap way to make her character matter, but it works. Some private organizations going to make another Weapon Plus, this time with some kid named Tyler. Nuke is involved. There's some references to the X-Men as a group, as in some mutants don't have the X-Men to rely on, or Logan's trying to get away from the X-Men. It's Jeff meets Daredevil finally. It's a very cute comic, but no Lockheed appearances. So next week's comics, we have Sorcerer Supreme 3 that has Madeline Pryor. Oh yeah, one of the issues comics coming out. So what if to celebrate What If's 50th anniversary, we're getting at least five one shots. One of them is what if Scott Summers didn't leave Madeline Pryor, so that'd be nice. Ideally, Kitty Pryde to be in there because she was there for the wedding. And Oh, and then there's a we're no longer dancing around the Outback X-Men. We're actually going to get a miniseries involving the Outback X-Men. So Madeline Pryor, not listed in the cast list, but it'd be nice if she was there. It hints that there's romance, so and it's Steve Orlando, so maybe he'll work in Scarlet Witch. Inglorious X-Force 2, Iron Man 2, with the gorgeous Carnero Ward artwork. Rogue 2, Spider-Man and Wolverine 10, Psylocke Ninja 2, The End 2993, which I always thought was called 2999 The End, but I guess not. Black Panther Intergalactic 3 that has Juggernaut on the cover, and then Hulk Smash Everything 3. Top 10 comics of 2026. X Comics, Magic and Colossus 1, Avengers Volume 934 of Kitty Pryde, Generation X 23 1 with Age of Apocalypse Kitty Pryde, or Shadowcat. Wolverine Volume 8, 16, number 5, X-Men Volume 7, 25, number 6, Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, 24, Rogue One, Cyclops Volume 4, 1, Inglorious X-Force 1, and then Ultimate Wolverine 14 at 10. And then we got the Marvel solicitations for May 2026. There's Reborn Ultimate Impact 1 of 5, lots of variant covers, lots of first appearances, it promises. Civil War Unmasked 1 of 5. Ideally, I'll get one of the variant covers, but Iron Man finds Bishop of the Days of Future Past, and then he sends him to the Civil War to fix his mistakes, so that'd be interesting. X-Men 29, I want the Martin Coccolo variant. Low Magic is on another one, but I'm getting so many comics in May. I don't think I can do two for two. Plus, I sort of resent that X-Men double ships because it means I can't support another comics or another copy of X-Men. X-Men 30, I want the Herman German Barata variant, even though the Magic's on another cover. X-Men United 3, I'm going to get the Andrea Bresnan variant because it has magic on it. Moonstar 3 of 5. There's a German Hermit, honestly, German Barata Magic New Mutants cover I'm gonna get. Magic and Cautious 4 of 5. We finally get a solo Magic cover by Nogali San that I'm gonna get. Wiccan and Hulkling Raid of Ultron is this year's Pride issue. There's supposed to be 4 variant covers, so ideally Kitty Pryde be on one of those, and then I'll get that one. Inferno Hulk 7 kicks off a X-Men arc, and I'm gonna get the Magic cover by Nick Klein. No relation, as far as I know. That'd be nice. Godzilla Infinity War 4 of 5 references the X-Men are gonna appear. Scott and Jean are on the main covers, so I'll check the variant covers. And then Uncanny X-Men 28 features the New Mutants, but we don't know which New Mutants, so I'll just wait for that and then see if Magic's one of them. But by recognizing by the time I um find out which New Mutants, it'd be too late to pre-order, but that's just gonna happen. And that, everyone, was episode 2417. Thanks so much for listening or watching on YouTube. And you can follow me on socials at Jackals SII on TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. On Instagram, you can follow the podcast. You will find I believe the 2 minute review and then the collection of comic book pages on its podcast is Instagram and Blue Sky at SNFWM. I should just post it on Twitter as well, but um so thank you everyone for watching or listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Oh, and also I'm doing comic book reviews again on the internet's the home of the internet's Shadow and Flame with Magic.com, the website that started it all. All right, everyone. Thank you. Bye.